God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Ryan Kelly, welcome.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming out.
Oh, yeah, man.
Haven't seen you in years, you know. We grew up in the same area and, had the same friends and pretty sure we used together here and there back in the day.
Probably.
The last time I actually remember even seeing you was with Wally, and we were at your apartment in Rockland.
The Phoenicians?
The Phoenicians.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were eating benzos and smoking. And,
oh, yeah. That was 2010?
Yeah.
I want to say? Yeah, that was...
So, yeah, it was 15 years ago.
15 years ago, man, yeah.
Yeah, wild. So let's just go all the way back. So I met you in the Rockland area. Is that where you're from originally, or where you grew up?
I went to Center. Grew up in Antelope. Grew up in North Highlands. Moved up to Rockland between freshman and sophomore year. Mm-hmm. So when I got to Rockland, I didn't know anybody. Everybody thought I was a freshman.
Yeah.
Because they'd never seen me at Silverado or any of the middle schools or anything like that. So I got transferred from Center up to Rockland, and because the curriculum for that school district was complete trash, they transferred me over as a sophomore with 5 units for PE.
Oh, nice.
And they're like, oh, yeah, all the classes that you take as a freshman here, kids in Rockland take in 8th grade.
Yeah. It's weird how it seems like there should be more of like a universal standard, But I guess it's hard to say that because like some of those inner city schools and stuff, man, the quality of teaching isn't there either. You know what I mean?
No, most definitely.
And so
not, yeah.
it's like it's hard. And the private schools, you have more money, the better education you get, and the more money you got, the better place you're living, your standards of living, the more, the better the school systems are. But the only thing that bothers me about that is that and Trump just changed this, or he's trying to, but it's a federally run institution, right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
It should be held to the same standard. I don't understand why there's such a difference, but there is a significant difference.
Yeah, you go from one high school to the other, and it's
totally different. Yeah, it's a trip. But so growing up, you got a sister, you have brothers and sisters, or a sister?
Brother died when I was 8.
Oh wow. And how'd that affect you?
Dude, it was brutal for a long time. We were actually when he died, it was Father's Day in 1996, and my dad was playing in the '96 U.S. Open in Michigan, and so we found out, and I wasn't allowed to come back with my sister and my mom. They immediately booked a flight and came directly back to California.
Right.
And
how old was he?
He was 16. He died 4 days before his 17th birthday.
Jeez, doing what?
He got hit by a car. At the remember the old illegal street races off of Old Avery Road?
Yeah.
Out there? Yeah. So I guess car had lost control and...
took him out.
Yep.
Jeez. So that had to be pretty devastating for everybody, I'd imagine.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
How did that change the family dynamic? I mean, just can't even imagine.
So I was sheltered a lot after that, because my mom was like
trying to keep you safe.
I don't want to lose another child, and so I was very sheltered, and all the neighborhood kids when I'm 8, 9 years old, they're able to, go up to the corner store, and mom's like, no, you're not allowed to go. It's like, the fuck, like, So I'm basically, all the ramifications of what happened to my brother was, kind of put on my lap, and
they started parenting out of fear.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So you had both parents in the house?
Yeah, until I was 15.
Okay. And how would you say your childhood was overall?
Got picked on a lot.
Yeah.
Got picked on a lot. It was decent, you know. I mean, like for the most part, I mean, I was playing sports. Didn't really. I wasn't vigilant to the stuff that, you know. I mean, these kids are now. As far as like, I mean, we didn't have social media, we didn't have cell phones, so it was just, you know, it was perfect for the most part, you know.
Yeah, it's a different time for sure.
Especially growing up in like Antelope and North Highlands, it was more of like. Make sure you keep your shoes on your feet and your bike under your ass. So, yeah. Learn pretty quickly that you need to stay on this side of the street.
Yeah, right.
Go to that side of the street, and kids are coming back.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's why mom told me not to cross the street.
Yeah. Learn to mind your own business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no doubt. Is there addiction in your family?
Not really, dude. I mean, my grandfather. Rest in peace. He died in 2006, and he was a Navy's man. I mean, he drank, I think, vodka tonic every single day, probably half a handle. And, you know, I watched him die from, you know, Lidney and liver and kidney failure. There you go. That's a tongue twister for you. And even after he died in 2006, like, it really didn't click. It really didn't click.
You mean like what it was from, or like the repercussions of what he was doing? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you would think that something drastic like that, like losing like your grandparent to, you know, alcoholism, it would just click. And I tell people all the time, I go, you know what, you know, it clicks when it clicks. Yeah. You know, you can't force something. I mean, people are always like, oh, well, you know, the family wants you to go to rehab, and it's like, that's not going to work. Yeah. Like, you got to want to do it. You got to want to, you know, have a better life. Yeah.
Has to be for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can't get sober for anybody else. Correct. You know what I mean? It's good to have those motivators, you know, like,
of course. Yeah.
Like, you know, for me, having a daughter, like having something, a purpose to be sober, right, is important, but it didn't get me sober, and it couldn't keep me sober either. Right. You know what I mean? Like it squarely falls on your willingness, you know. Correct. And yeah, you know, you're done when you say you're done, you know, and when you're ready to put the shovel down and stop digging and like really put the work in and do something different. You know what I mean?
It just clicked, man.
Yeah.
It just clicked. I mean, I signed so it was June of 2013. I just signed a 3-fight contract. And so I was like, okay, let's get alcohol out of this equation. Yeah. You know, so I was training from 7 a.m. to like 10 a.m., going to work from 11:30 to 5, and then going back and training. Mm-hmm. And when I get home, I get, you know, a 3-pack of Budweiser tall cans and a couple shots of Jack, and I realized all the progress that I was making throughout the day. I mean, it was all wiped away with a couple of drinks, and kind of compartmentalized, you know, not only being a drug addict, but actively using alcohol as a professional athlete blew me away.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, a lot of people drink regularly and like go to work, and they're, you know, professionals in whatever regard. Yeah. And it's, you might be able to, you know, produce and like be good at what you're doing, but you don't realize like how much it's taking away from you.
It's hindering every single part of your life.
Yeah, 100%.
Relationships.
Marijuana too, you know, like it definitely affects you. Like 100%. Even though it's not the same, you know, there's levels to it, obviously. Correct. Like it has an effect. Alcohol for sure, you know. For one, it just takes up so much time. Like if you're drinking every day after work, like you're not pursuing other things. No. You know, you're not going to have time for side hustle or like, you know, sports ambitions, anything like that.
But that was the cool thing to do in Rockland,
right?
You know,
it was the only thing to do.
It was the only thing to do, yeah. Other than breaking into houses, and
getting in trouble,
getting in trouble. It's like the cool thing was to party, and you got a notch in your belt if somehow you wound up in jail.
Yeah,
and that was a cool thing. And it's like, dude, like I'm pretty sure Rockland's condemned. At least as far as I'm concerned.
It was back then for sure. It was too many kids with a little bit of money and too much freedom, unsupervised.
Too many kids with mommy and daddy's money.
Yeah, mommy and daddy's money. Yep. And which was cool because I didn't have much money, but my friends did.
Same, exactly.
You know what I mean? So
I was broke as shit.
I was great.
Yeah.
It was fun to be able to be part of that environment, even just living on the other side of town,
Couple
whatever.
Of homies up in Whitney Oaks.
Yeah, exactly. It's like cool. This is different,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's tight though. So going back, when did you start drinking and partying?
19.
19. So you didn't get in too much in high school?
No. Yeah. I mean, the first time I ever saw weed is when I moved to Rockland. It was between sophomore and junior year. And I mean, growing up in North Highlands and Antelope, it's like you figure that somewhere along the line I would have seen or been, susceptible to weed. And it's nope, never saw weed until I moved to Rockland.
And do you think that was because of your sheltered upbringing, like your parents keeping you in the house, or what?
They weren't keeping me in the house, but I mean, at the same time, it's very strict rules, very old school shit. You come home when the street lights pop on, and certain things that my friends were able to do, I wasn't able to do.
Yeah.
And I think it took a drastic psychological effect on both my parents to the point where they were scared.
Yeah,
they were literally scared of losing another child.
Were you drawn to any of that stuff, or what were you looking at growing up? Were you looking at sports guys? Did you want to be a fighter when you were younger? Did you have ambitions to be something? Because for me, I got drawn into that lifestyle through things I was watching, you know what I mean? Through media and rap and videos and all, movies and all that. I was attracted to that street lifestyle,
Right.
And so that's how I fell into it. But, I got into it pretty young. But what were your visions of the future when you were that age? What were you looking to get out of life, you think?
To come to mind, nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, are you talking post-addiction or pre-addiction?
In high school, growing up.
High school, dude, I wanted to be a sports commentator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my dad was really good friends with Grant Napier, the voice of the Kings. And I was like, I want to be a sports, I want to be a sports commentator. It'd be awesome,
Yeah, go all those games.
Yeah, growing up and meeting all these celebrities because of my dad. And, meeting Jerry Reynolds and Grant Napier. And
so how'd your dad get into all that? He was good at golf? Is that?
He's a professional golfer.
That's tight.
Yeah, he's been professional since 1988.
Nice. That's cool. That's a great lane to be in too.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of what segued me into professional fighting. I saw the work ethic growing up of leaving the house at 5 a.m. and coming home at 5 p.m. and it's
you just golf all day long.
Yeah, but all the work that's done in the dark corners, it's you don't see that. You only see the tournament or you only see the fight.
Yeah.
So you don't really understand, the work that's put into these things. You only see the main stage.
Yep.
So the work ethic, I mean, is as polar opposites as golf and combat sports are. I mean, the work ethic is spot on.
Right. And how's your relationship with your dad growing up?
After he took off when I was 15, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Didn't like him for a long time.
Did you feel abandonment from that?
Mildly.
Yeah.
A little bit. But at that point, when I was 15, it was one of those things where I was just more angry than in touch with my feeling. Like, what 15-year-old is in touch with their feelings? You know,
Right. I mean, looking back, you can see, you know, yeah, it was probably abandonment or whatever, but at the time, yeah, you're just angry and
I was angry.
pissed off at the world.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough age to go through stuff like that too. You're just like trying to figure out who you are and like
exactly, yeah,
what you want to do with your life and like what even is a man and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What am I even doing here?
Especially like you said at that age. Yeah, it's a very embryonic age for a teenager for the most part. Like they're just so easily swayed that, you know, in high school I never had a clique. I never, you know, I got along with the jocks. I got along with the goth kids. I got along with the, you know, 4 or 5 different groups.
Yeah.
So it was cool. I mean, it was still a good friend and your brother. There's a couple guys that, you know, surprised that, you know, I had their friendship.
Yeah.
You know, just
Are you in my brother's grade?
Yeah, 05.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have our 20-year anniversary this year.
Sheesh.
Yeah, old man. Getting there.
That's wild, huh?
Yeah.
20 years, bro?
Yeah, 20 years, man.
Man. Time flies, huh?
Yeah, it's about time I get prom king.
There you go.
I mean, half these guys I went to high school with are going to come in with
washed up,
obese wives, fucking, you know, just fucking bald, no hair, fucking overweight. And
shout out to my brother, bald and overweight.
Is he bald?
Yeah.
Is Brandon bald?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like he's got the straight over the top. His hair is receding like straight back on him. No, I know. I got lucky. I got hair.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I got my dad's hair. But
yeah. See, your brother was always like one of the guys that was like pretty cool to me, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you graduated, so you're 19 when you first started using, like, how did that change your life? How did you even fall into it at that age? And like, what happened there?
People I was surrounding myself with, for sure. Yeah. Went from weed to Xanax to Percocet, then the Oxycontin pandemic hit in like 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Never really got into the whole ecstasy thing. But yeah, it just like, it escalated over the years to the point where I was doing heroin on a 3-fight contract with Bellator.
Jeez.
Like, how the hell do you compartmentalize being a professional athlete and a full-blown drug addict?
Yeah, I mean, how does that even happen?
Just, I mean, lots of pain.
Yeah.
Lots of pain and...
physical pain?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when you first started using, you were just like partying, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, well, you had some injuries or something, and then you got into painkillers or what?
It wasn't necessarily like an injury or two. It was just one of those things where like I shattered my bursa sac in my right shoulder. And then little injuries here and there, and they'd give me Norco, and then you know, smash through those like Tic Tacs, and then
Progresses pretty quick.
It does, 100%.
And then so you're kind of like doing some pain management stuff, and you're partying, and then it's just like starting to become habitual, right? All of a sudden your life's starting to change, and you're like involved in this lifestyle, and you're hanging out with those characters, and you're fighting, and that's got its own culture of partying and all the girls and
100%,
all that too. How did you get into fighting? What did that journey look like?
So we were at a party. I still remember this like it was yesterday. We were at a party in El Dorado Hills, and some fight broke out, and some shit got broke. Normal party.
Yeah.
And my buddy Donnie comes in, and he goes, "Hey man," he's like, "these guys took my SoCo," and I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're outside. They just kind of shook me down from my Southern Comfort." And I was like,
it's a problem.
Yeah, let's go outside real quick. And there's probably like 4 or 5 guys just like standing in the lawn. I go, "Hey man," and they were probably my age, maybe a little bit younger, and they're like, I go, hey man, I was like, somebody just swooped a bottle from my boy. You know where they went? And they go, oh yeah, green Honda Civic, like right around the corner. And they're like, oh, we'll help you find him. And so I get around the corner, and then I can hear the footsteps stop. I turn around, and there's 4 or 5 of these guys squared up to me. I go, like that? And they go, yeah, it's like that. And so I guess the father of the kid who was still in the party at the house showed up. And I might have thrown 7 or 8 punches, and they were all sleeping.
Oh,
in the
nice.
middle of the street.
And so you're like, I got a knack for this? Or
Yeah,
what?
and I woke up crawling in my fucking window, covered in blood.
Nice.
Not my blood, but covered in blood.
There you go.
I think it was probably like 2 or 3 days later, I get a phone call from homeboy's dad, and I'm like, how'd you get my number, you know? And, he's like, hey man, like, saw what you did to those guys. And I was like, yeah, well, you know, they were trying to jump me, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, hey, you know, so-and-so told me that, you know, you're pretty fond of Oxycontin and snorting shit up your nose. And I go, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to fucking lie. Yeah, for sure. And he goes, well, here's the deal. I own a gym. And whenever you're done snorting that shit up your nose, come to see me. And so one day I blew an 80. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to this gym. Dude, this guy fed me to his, like, 14-year-old corn-fed fucking nephew and just mauled me, dude. And that was just like...
Wake up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What gym was that? Do you remember?
I don't. It was some small gym over in Folsom.
Yeah, it's humbling when you first go into these gyms and, like, you think you can fight and stuff, and then you just get torn apart by somebody half your age.
Yeah, I
or
can beat up any
half
man
your
on the
size,
street, and then all of a sudden this 14-year-old sophomore at freaking Del Oro is just mauling me, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck is going on?
I better stick around for a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So where did that progress? So you stuck around in the gym, and you're like, I really want to do this, and started.
Well, so he told me, because he could see that I was high.
Yeah.
And he's like, picked me up by my neck and was like, you ever show up to my you ever show up to my gym again, you know, fucked up, like, we're gonna have a problem. And basically, like, packed my bags and just threw them outside. And I was like, oh, well, that's the end of that. And then reconnected with the guy probably about 3 or 4 months later, and I was like, hey man, you know, stopped doing oxys about a month and a half ago, been pretty sober. I'm drinking and smoking weed for the most part, but I would really like your blessing to come into the gym and, you know, get some work done. You know, because frankly, Rockland at that time, like, there was very few ways out of that town.
Yeah.
Very few ways. Either you got a scholarship or you fought your way out.
Yeah.
Quite literally. And so he took me under his wing, and I had, this was 2006, I had about 11 amateur fights that year. October of 2006, I got my pro card.
Nice.
Turned pro in 2006. And then, I just started taking it a little bit more serious. I mean, at that time, mixed martial arts, combat sports, they were not legal in the state of California.
Right.
So, I mean, me, Max Griffin, Andre Feely, all these guys that I came up with, dude, we were fighting out of airport hangars, casino parking lots, like, just the most obscure venues. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're having a fight here. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just the way it kind of, it was the origin story of kind of how, you know, fighting started in California for the most part.
That's cool. So you kind of fell in love with the sport and the whole culture.
Yeah,
and
most definitely.
Yeah. And so how did your using progress with that?
So I was still smoking weed, still drinking.
Yeah.
I went 4-0, and then I had a loss, and then kind of went heavy. You know, after that loss, I was kind of down and just really didn't know how to, you know, swallow that pill of, you know, taking my first loss. Up until that point, I thought I was fucking invincible.
Yeah.
So it humbled me, but it also got me back into the gym. And I was still, using. I wasn't doing coke. I wasn't doing, all the other shit. I was just drinking and smoking weed, popping pills, nothing crazy. And then, yeah, that turned into heroin in 2010. Because, Oxy's kind of ran its course, and then they stopped making them and all that shit. And then everyone was like, oh, well, heroin's cheap and does the exact same thing. And
yeah,
went down that road for about a year. And, yeah, I was still actively fighting, which is
so
just
what,
a wild concept.
You were just smoking a little bit and then going to the gym, or like how were you doing both?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd wake up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym, train till about 10:30, go to work from like 11:30 to 5, and then go back to the gym. And, when I was done, my body was hurting, so I'd shoot up a little 0.1, 0.2, and...
So you're using needles?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Just influence.
Yeah.
Just couple guys I was hanging around with at that time were already doing it, just kind of like on the DL. And then, you hang around shit, you smell like shit, so just inevitably happened one day. And
yep, no doubt. Hang around with the people that are doing it, they're gonna
100%, man.
Yeah, you get talked into shit real easy. It's crazy,
especially when it's free.
Yeah, I know, right?
You're like, oh, free? Yeah.
Yeah, I like free. Yeah. So what was the turning point? Like, when did you realize, like, okay, this is, like, not going to work out here?
With...
Just on that path of using and trying to be a fighter and, like...
So I met a chick in, I want to say like mid to late 2012, and I was actively still doing heroin. And the first week that I went out with her, and I'm just like blonde Barbie doll, Rockland dime piece, just said, and my niece was born too. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to lose this chick if I keep doing this shit. And so I just fucking tossed a bag into the toilet and cold turkeyed it. And about a week later, I was feeling myself again, and it was liberating, to be honest with you. It really was, just to kind of, and it was for multiple reasons. It's like my nieces, I didn't want them seeing, uncle in and out of jail or in and out of prison growing up, and setting a good example for them, and also the relationship. And then fast forward to when me and her separated in 2013. Part of me getting sober off alcohol and weed was basically like kind of spiteful, like we had a falling out, we separated. She moved into a new house. I held down our 2-bedroom condo in Van Nuys, and I got a phone call, and basically Bellator wanted me to do a 3-fight contract, an 11-month contract, which meant that, 90-day training camps, 1 month off, 90-day training camps, 1 month off. So I'd have 3 fights in 11 months, which is, it's hard to come by out here in the States. Really hard to come by out here in the States to fight 3, maybe even 4 times a month or a year. So, yeah.
Interesting. So when you kicked the heroin and the drugs, did you notice like your drinking picked up, or?
It didn't pick up. It just was kind of there. It was always, I get off work or I get home from training, and it's like the American dream. You get home from a hard day's work, crack a beer, and,
So you were relatively like functional addict then.
Yeah.
So you were able to like manage using and, following a path of some sort, you know, just kind of like what we were saying though, not to the, obviously to the best of your ability, right? It was
most definitely not.
Definitely hindering you.
Yep.
Is that a regret that you have? Like,
no. I mean, if I could do it again, I obviously wouldn't want to physically do it again, but like hypothetically speaking, like no,
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it turned me into the person I am today, and you know, when you go through stuff like that, it builds character. Yeah. You know, the highs, the lows, everything in between, it just kind of defines you. And tell you the truth, the breaking point was so after me and her separated, that was May 28th, 2013. I was heavily drinking, dude. Heavily drinking. And I had a couple buddies of mine, and we all worked together. And I started, like, kind of in a stupor, understanding, like, one of these guys was spending a week at my house, and then they would, like, switch off, you know? And I'm kind of going, okay, yeah, I get it. They have a 2-bedroom, you know, apartment with 4 guys, and, like, I totally get why, you know, they want to come over here once a week, you know, for a week and, you know, get away from all the, you know, 4 guys living in a 2-bedroom apartment in Van Nuys. So I was like, yeah, you're more than welcome. But what I found out, like, years later was that when I would get, like, drunk, and I was still taking massive amounts of Xanax, I'd start playing with my gun. And I'd fall asleep with my gun, like, right here. And I'd wake up the next morning really not knowing anything that had happened the night prior, and everyone was gone, and I'm like, where the fuck's my gun? And it's in the vegetable drawer in the fridge, or it's in the microwave, or it's in a cupboard somewhere, and it's like they were saving me from myself, basically.
Did you feel suicidal? Yeah,
100%. I felt more suicidal prior to my back surgeries just because I was in so much pain, dude.
Physically?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was sober at that point, so I was fucking raw dogging it. I was feeling everything on the chin, taking everything on the chin. Yeah. So I was just in so much pain, man. It got to a point where I was like, dude, like I can't live like this. I mean, I traveled up and down the West Coast trying to find a neurosurgeon or ortho surgeon to operate on me, and they were like, hey, you're too young. And I'm like, I might just go home and put a fucking bullet in my head tonight. Like, so I finally found a guy, Southern California Orthopedic Institute, Dr. Todd Moldauer, went in there. It really clicked when he walked in, because you know how they look at the x-rays in the hall, and then they kind of come in, and he walked in and was kind of shocked to see, you know, a guy in, you know, his mid-20s. I think I was like 26, 27 at that time. And he's like, if you weren't standing here, I would have thought I was coming in to meet a 75, 77-year-old, you know, guy, just from looking at the x-rays and MRIs of your back. And so he asked me, he's like, so what do you want to do? I almost broke down into tears, because I'd gone up to Washington, I'd gone to Oregon, I went down to UCLA. I mean, I was living in LA, so I mean, there's plenty of practices down there, but all these guys that are brain surgeons and orthos, you're too young. So finally, to have that relief of somebody understanding that, like, hey, my quality of life is diminishing second by second, and I'm becoming extremely suicidal, and you know, I need help. Yeah. So when he said, you know, what do you want to do? It's like, finally somebody put the ball in my court.
Yeah. That's cool. So when you say suicidal, like, I don't have any experience with that. So, like, what do you mean? Like, you're like, are you replaying thoughts of killing yourself, or like, what's the headspace like when you're saying suicidal?
The headspace was like, I'm done, I want out.
Okay. Yeah.
No precursors, nothing leading up to that, no crazy, like, you know, argument, no crazy, you know, financial situations, just
tired of
tired of living in pain, man.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit. So you said this was when you were sober, right?
Yeah.
So how did that transpire? So you got sober after you broke up with that chick? You said it was spite, kind of in spite?
Yeah. So I got sober, number one, to be like, fuck you to that chick. And then I took on that 11.
Did it work or no?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Ironically, I kicked heroin for that chick. And then I kicked alcohol.
Well, God bless her.
Yeah, God bless her. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Blessing in disguise.
Yeah. So when you got sober, what was that process like? Did you go to a rehab? Did you go to AA? Like, you're just like cold turkey, whatever?
I went surfing one day. It was July 7th. And I went out to Malibu, went out to First Point over at Surf Rider. They had the flags up, so it was blackballed. It was pumping super heavy out there, dude. Probably 8 to 12 feet. They have a lifeguard Tundra, right? Toyota Tundra that basically goes from Surf Rider up to Point Wanimi and Zuma, and then comes back down, and it's 9 minutes up and 9 minutes back. So I'm like, all right, cool. I got 18 minutes to get out and around the break so they can't see me. And caught about 2 waves, and then a bigger set came in, and I pearled the nose of my board. Pearled is basically a fancy word for endo, basically. Nose of my board went directly into the water and just picked me up and threw me and then held me under for probably a good, minute. And,
which seems like an eternity when you're underwater.
When you're in a meat grinder? Yeah, for sure, dude. For sure, yeah.
It's like time stops.
Yeah, but the only way that you can tell what's up and down is by your leash, because the board's buoyant. So,
right.
I mean, you have no idea what's...
Yeah.
You have no idea. So it's like... I was on the verge of passing out because I was under for so long, and then finally, I grabbed my leash and started tethering up, and finally hit this little pocket of air, and then this wave, probably 8 to 10 feet, just crashed right on top of me and threw me back in it.
Yeah.
And I kind of passed out for about 4 or 5 seconds from what I can remember, and then I just kind of washed up on shore.
Wow.
And I was just sitting there, just kind of coughing up salt water, just
yeah.
Delirious. Yeah. And then I'm kind of get through the rocks, and I get onto the sand, and I'm laying there just holy shit. And like I said, it was a cloudy day, very cloudy day. It was kind of storming a little bit, and it was really eerie, man, because all of a sudden this break in the clouds just hit me. Just a ray of sunlight, man. And I'm just like, the hell? What is this? And in that moment, I realized that Mother Nature is the baddest bitch alive, and she would have taken me out and not even batted an eye.
Oh yeah, you're helpless out there.
Yeah, I can beat up I can beat up 99% of the men that walk this earth, but Mother Nature just made me her little bitch. And it was extremely humbling. And then I want to say about the next day, we went to go see Steel Panther, the 80s cover band, the hair metal band, Steel Panther.
Okay.
Yeah, we saw them on Sunset House of Blues in Hollywood, and last drink was a tall can of Pabst Blue Ribbon. I wish I would have gone out a little bit more classy, but, And then the next day, I'm good.
That was it, huh?
Yeah, that was it. That was a fun hurrah. And I was also doing tour management at the time, so it's I wasn't able to digest the whole entire newfound sobriety. It's I was tour managing at the time, so we were at venues.
For what? What do you mean?
My buddy's band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So all over. I mean, they toured with guys like Crazy Town. Come my baby, you're my butterfly.
That was a great band.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they sold out seas of people overseas.
I bet,
So we did some shows with them. We did some shows with some pretty big people, and I was their tour manager. So I mean, like, I get the drink coupons
Right.
from the promoter, and he's like, yeah, distribute these evenly throughout the band, and so I finally started picking up pineapple juice. And I was like, oh, this is a nice little hack right here, because it looks like a screwdriver, it looks like a Mai Tai, it looks like I'm drinking something, and I'm just drinking pineapple juice.
So why did you quit?
There was more to life to live.
Yeah.
And what I've been doing, and as far as fighting, was just a complete path of self-destruction. And I wanted more.
Yeah.
I wanted more out of life. I wanted to be able to be in control of every moment of my life. I don't want to find myself in a situation where it's like, oh, I don't have control over this. It's like, and also, I mean, my parents are, I mean, I'm living in LA, my parents are up here, and all the restless nights that, I caused them, the least I could do was, being 400 miles away is, I can never repay those restless nights, but what I can do is ensure that they're never going to have another one for the rest of their life.
Yep. Amen.
There's a lot of things that, kind of, encourage me to get sober. And everyone around me was just, super supportive. Yeah. They were still drinking. Which actually kind of fed me to the wolves. I wasn't in a safe environment where, other people are sober or anything like that. I just, it's either sink or swim. And I was, I had a lot of steel to my resolve. I knew what I wanted, and I knew that this is the life I've chosen, and, I just got to stick with it. And here I am 11 and a half years later, man.
Nice. So do you feel like, so when I got sober, it was like the drugs and alcohol had become the solution to the way that I was feeling.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I had created so many issues in my life, through the lifestyle I was leading, that when I took the drugs and alcohol away, it was like I still had all these problems.
Voids.
You know what I mean? I had all these voids.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way? Or do you feel like drugs and alcohol were the problem, and then once you took that away, you were able to live the way that you wanted to live?
So that's kind of a double-sided question right there. The entire time during my addiction with alcohol or whatever it was, it's like I convinced myself that, like, I don't have a problem. I'm in full control of this, blah, 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 blah. Just, denial, just bullshit, addict talk. And then afterwards, I got sober. I just started seeing things that I normally wouldn't see. I'd go on a hike or something like that, and it's like, it's kind of cliche, but, stop to smell the roses, watch the waves break, and kind of fell in love with the idea of the lore of the land, basically. Like, I'm a child of this earth, and virtually surfing saved me, dude. Surfing showed me how small I was in the realm of things, and also just getting outside and just seeing how megalithic this world is, and understanding that I'm a fragment of a fragment of a fragment in this world was just. It was humiliating, but at the exact same time, through humiliation, you become humble.
So, it doesn't exactly answer the question. Do you feel like you were powerless over drugs and alcohol, or do you feel like they were the problem, and once you took those away, then your eyes were awakened as to who you actually were?
So I think in a sense, I was kind of powerless.
Okay.
Yeah. To be
Because for me, dude, I
transparent.
could not stop, bro.
Yeah.
Like I there was no just like, I had the realization, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, this is, what I'm doing is absolutely retarded.
Right.
Like, I can't stay out of jail. I can't, be the man that I wanted to be, because I wanted I wasn't living up to my expectations as a man either, right? I wanted something different.
Correct.
And I had wanted something different for a while, bro. You know what I mean? But I was powerless, bro.
Yeah.
I was just whooped.
Yeah.
These drugs just had me by the balls. The alcohol was just a king over me, bro. I could not stop.
Yep.
Even though I had all the good reasons in the world to stop,
Right.
and I had all the negative repercussions breathing down my neck, and it was just like a train wreck in slow motion that I couldn't freaking get off of.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for me, it was like, dude, I was nearly, I mean, I don't know, but for me, I just couldn't stop, bro. I was like incapable, you know?
Because it became just like it became a normality. Is
Yeah.
what it was. Is like, oh yeah, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And when you're blinded by being inebriated or drugs or something like that, especially with how long we used, it's just like it's a typical day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's I tell people all the time, man, there's not a deadline for when you figure this shit out.
Mhm.
One day it just clicks.
Yeah.
You might least expect it, it could be a long time coming and something clicks, but it's like we all learn at a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have friends out there right now that homeless and using, and
Yeah.
it's like, dude, like I really wish that I could help those people. I mean, I tried for years, but at the exact same time, every single time that I try and help somebody, it just takes a chunk out of me, man.
Yeah. I think it's worth it though.
It is, but I mean, if I get to a point where I realize that they're not helping themselves, then I do have to step away.
No, for sure. It's a balance, like I mean, I've dedicated a lot of my life to it,
Right.
to this recovery thing, and like being that person that people can reach out to, and like,
Mm-hmm.
Showing up for people. And it is, dude, it's hard when they don't accept it or like aren't ready,
Correct,
especially when you really care about them, and like, but that's exactly how the people that cared about us felt too,
Yeah.
It's like, just, how long my parents wished I would get sober, like,
Yep.
just
Same.
prayed about it, and long sleepless nights, and, so, but it does, it takes a lot out of you to do that for people, but I think it's worth it at the end of the day. It's like,
Oh, 100%.
what am I even here for if that's not part of it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what is this journey even for if I can't help somebody else out of it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
how am I benefiting from it? And I hate to make that sound like very like self-absorbed, but like I even analyze and interpret friendships now, where it's kind of like, hey, like, how are you benefiting me?
yeah,
And I hate to make that sound wrong, but in my head, I'm going, okay, well, like, how are you benefiting me? Like, how is this friendship? How is this brotherhood? Like, how is this benefiting me?
mm-hmm.
And I tell people all the time, I go, hey, if it's not, like, analyze what you're doing. And if you realize that you have to ask yourself the question, how is this benefiting me? And if the answer is no, then you got your fucking answer right there, dude.
Yeah.
Because we're just sabotaging it. That's the way I'd see it, is just using all those years, we were just sabotaging ourselves, man.
Yeah. No doubt. So when you got sober, did you get involved with any type of recovery meetings, or you just,
No.
how did that journey go for you?
So I started hanging out with people that were successful.
Mm-hmm.
Started hanging out with actors and musicians, and good friends with, there's a long list, man, long list. Actually had a really good talk with Taylor Hawkins about it, probably about like 7 or 8 years ago at their studios in Encino. And, you know, Dave had been sober for, I want to say like 4 or 5 years at that point. And like me and Taylor were kind of talking, and he's like, yeah, you know, my baby girl's on the way, and I got to make some changes and stuff like that. And it was just kind of, I didn't want to be in an environment where everyone else was fighting those inner demons and sucking down cancer sticks every single, 30-minute break or something like that. It's like,
yeah,
the conversation at those tables are different.
Yeah.
The vocabulary at the successful table, that vocabulary does not exist at that other table, the addicts table.
Yeah.
And so I realized that, hey, if I want to pursue sobriety the way that I have been, and I want to excel, and I want to become, successful, and this is outside of fighting, just in the world, I needed to be around stellar individuals that, had good shit going for them. And I've always believed in a really good quote. It says, if you see somebody that has something you want, become friends with that person. Whether it's sobriety, whether it's a car, whether it's a house, whether it's a lifestyle, whatever it is, that person has something to teach you. That person's doing something right.
Yeah.
And so I aligned myself with a lot of successful individuals that, frankly, the talk that, we would have had, 15, 16, 17 years ago, it's not even in their vocabulary.
Right. No doubt. Yeah, no, that's an important part of it, who you surround yourself with,
100%. Yeah.
Like, show me your friends, I'll show you your future, right?
Correct, yeah.
And, it's a real thing, for sure. So how did your lifestyle change, because we have to, like, replace those habits with different habits.
Correct, yeah.
So were you aware of that, and like how did your lifestyle change once you got sober?
I quit willingly going out, because we were always going to Federal over in North Hollywood, or we'd go down to Hollywood and just get drunk and just kind of run amok, shit that we used to do here, just trying to find somebody to fight.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I said, I was kind of fed to the wolves. It was sink or swim, and I figured out a way to kind of circumnavigate those social environments and the social dynamics of being in a place like that, and still, enjoying myself.
So it was really like an internal thing where you just made the decision that I'm just not going to drink and use anymore, and that's it.
Yep. God gave us free will, and he gave me the will to destroy my life, and he also gave me the will to reclaim it.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I found that through surfing, man.
Nice.
I did. Found that through surfing. There's no other thing out there that is, in a sense, there's no other thing out there that's, I mean, yeah, you can go play football and you're against somebody else. You're trying to, if you're a wide receiver, you're trying to fight off your free safety or your cornerback, whatever it is. But with surfing, it's you against you. And if you make the wrong decision, like, you're royally fucked.
Yeah.
So I found this love of the earth and, what God has provided for us. And, surfing was my outlet. I'd get up probably 5 a.m., check the forecast real quick. And there was a couple times, like, I became really good friends with Jay Adams. I'm not sure if you know who that is. You ever watched Z-Boys, Zephyr team? Remember the guy that Ema Hirsch played? Jay Adams.
Yeah.
Became really good friends with him back in August of 2014. And, June of 2014. He died in August 2014. And, like, I was kind of struggling with depression because, once you get all the substances out of your life, anxiety and depression, they fucking rock your world, dude.
Yeah.
Because you're just raw dogging reality, taking everything on the
Feeling,
chin. Yeah, you're feeling everything, dude. And so, like, there was mornings that I was just kind of like, I wasn't thinking about relapsing or going back or anything like that. And I'd text Jay real quick, you know, and within 30 seconds, he's like, grab your board. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Jay Adams is telling me to grab my fucking surfboard. All right, sweet. So I'd go out there and just pure bliss, man. Just being on the ocean. And it's such a vulnerable concept, but it's so peaceful. It's like people really don't understand it until they actually they experience it themselves. It's like you're in one of the most vulnerable situations, sitting on a surfboard out in the middle of the ocean, sharks around you, you know. I mean, the waves are going to kill you.
Yeah.
Let alone the sharks. It's like you got so much to worry about. And yeah, I use that as a vice. That was my freedom. You know, I catch a little, you know, 6-7 foot wave and, you know, get barreled, and it is more euphoric than sex, dude. It's fucking awesome, dude. So that was my outlet, man. That and skating, and yeah, it was good, dude. It was good. I really I'm really thankful that I saw the things that I did see, because it led to me having this newfound respect for the earth and just God, period. You know, we started going to church down there, Mosaic. It was in Hollywood, and it's a lot of guys our age and, you know, 20s, 30s, not the older, you know.
Yeah.
Older people, but yeah, just the culmination of like 4 or 5 of those things just put me on the right path. And I think it was July 4th, 2014. I was actually at Nate's house with Josiah and Corey down in Newport, and got a phone call probably 1 or 2 in the afternoon from my cousin Nick, and he's crying, and said Jacqueline's dead, which was my cousin. We were 8 months apart, and that hit. That really did hit, dude. Because, I mean, 6-7 years prior, you could have put both of us side by side and asked our entire family, like, oh, which one of these two is going to die of an overdose? And Ryan, fucking clearly, you know? And I think that was the moment that I understood that the path that I have chosen is the path I need to stick to.
Solidified it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I walked up to my dad at the funeral and I said, I swear to God on everything, you'll never have to bury me, man. Ever. Because I saw what our whole family was going through, and I'm like, dude, like, how could I be so selfish?
I know. It really is such a selfish disease. It's crazy.
But that's what gave me the actual, like, you know, it was solidified that day. It was kind of like, okay, like, there's ever a tangible sign that God would throw at me saying that I am doing this, you know, that I am doing this properly, and, you know, that was it, you know. It gave me more, it made me more resilient. It made me more driven to stay on that path. And like I said, the guys that I surrounded myself in LA and Hollywood with were the utmost of support, dude. So supportive, dude. Like, so I couldn't have asked for a better group of guys to just kind of be around to kind of see me through those times, you know?
Yep. So what, did you go to any church growing up, or how did your relationship with God transform over the years and through sobriety?
Jail.
Shout
Man.
out to jail.
Yeah, jail. Yeah. Shout out to fucking Sac County and Placer County, man. No, so when I was in jail, I mean, I was institutionalized from the time I was 18 to probably almost 20 or something like that. Just kind of off and on. DUIs, you know, possession, shit like that. So I finally just picked up the Bible and read the Bible front to back twice. And then...
what'd you learn?
Learned a lot.
Yeah.
Learned a lot, man. Honestly. But before I could even, like, be like, oh, I'm a Christian now, or oh, I'm a Catholic now, or oh, this is, this is wholeheartedly what I believe. I'm a firm believer that you have to examine and identify all the contradicting concepts surrounding religion in order to be comfortable with your choice. So I started, reading, the Mormon doctrine, read the Codex Gigas, which is the Devil's Bible. Looked into a lot of different contradicting concepts. And then I was kind of like, you know what? Like, I don't align myself with a certain religion, but at the exact same time, I am a very spiritual individual, and I do believe in God. And I do believe that, Jesus is our Lord and Savior. He died on the cross, and I still carry that with me. I still carry that. I live a very godly life as far as, just karma and treating other people properly, and even small shit, just holding doors open for people, just like living a stellar, just like, honest life. It's like, I'm not doing it for the thanks. It's just, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So did you grow up in church at all, or no? Or that's when you found was in jail?
Yeah, we never went to church growing up.
So yeah, I had a similar experience, was just like seeking, you know what I mean? Like I had a feeling that God was real, that like there's a creator here, there's something more to this. The whole evolution didn't really make sense, and so I was seeking, what that was. And I kind of went through a similar process of like, looking at Buddhism and Taoism and all these different religions.
Oh, Buddhism's great, dude.
Yeah. And
when I was living in Thailand, I studied with monks, and like you could sit there for a year and explain to a monk why Americans have to take a pill every day to combat depression.
Yeah.
And they'd go, what? But look at the grass.
Yeah, I know.
Look at the trees. Like you'd spend weeks trying to get them to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's amazing the culture, the cultural difference between the two, because the shit that we deal with here, they're like,
yeah, I know.
What?
It's crazy.
Look at the tree. Look at the, look at the animals. Like, how could you be depressed?
I know. It's a trip. But yeah, I mean, taking little pieces of all of that, and like reading the Bible. And like when I first read the Bible, I was like, this is crazy, bro. Like,
what does it mean?
Some of these stories are just like, there's no way, know, and like, it doesn't make sense. And so much of it, and like thinking about Jesus and like thinking about his life and what it means for him to sacrifice that, and like the thought of like him dying on the cross and dying for our sins, like that concept in itself made zero sense to me. Like, how does him dying have anything to do with me and my lifestyle
in contemporary society?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so like it was hard for me, because I didn't grow up in any of that,
Correct. Yeah.
And so it was like trying to figure it out on my own. But the more I sought it out, the more he revealed himself to me, you know what I mean? And the more trust I built in him, and he spoke to me, and said, you don't have to believe the Bible. You just have to trust in me, and like, I felt that, and like, it wasn't an audible thing, but like that thought came to me, and like, I really felt that in my soul. Like, I just have to put my trust in him. And the more I put my trust in him and try to live by his tenets and be a good person and be a good man in society and be someone of purpose and value and live my life in a holy and sacrificial way to the best of my ability. I'm still a man. I still fall short, but I try to live by his will, to the best of my ability, and the more I try to do that, the better my life gets.
100%.
You know what I mean? And that ripples out to where, my cup is overflowing, and, I try to help other people. And it's all because I've tried to live that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to align my life with his life, and it just blossoms. You know what I mean? Yeah. How has your journey with recovery and like, how has it affected other people's lives through your getting sober?
I mean, most people would have never.
Yeah.
Like, most people would have never guessed that, you know, Ryan Kelly. Like,
yeah.
You fucking kidding me? Like,
yeah, I mean, you were an early adopter.
Yeah,
like, you got sober before a lot of people from our area got sober.
It became pretty trendy probably about like 5-6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I just say it clicked, and I felt that there was something more to live for, and I had been actively just doing myself a disservice the entire time. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like I said, I watched my grandfather die from alcohol, and multiple friends. I mean, the list is endless.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like it clicked, and I had a lot of support, but at the exact same time, it's like even if I didn't have the support, I knew that I was on the right road. Mm-hmm. I knew that the culmination of my actions was going to ultimately determine and define who I am. Mm. So, like you said earlier, like I wouldn't take back any of that stuff, or I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Yeah.
So, there was probably about 5 or 6 different types of like influences, I guess you could say, during that time when I was getting sober, where, you know, so when I took that 3-fight contract, I told myself I wasn't going to drink at all, you know, and then I went 2-1 in those fights. And then I remember we were in Vegas and we were walking through a casino, and then one of my buddies is like, "Hey bro, like, have a drink, man. It's been like, you set out to accomplish what you accomplished." And I was kind of like, "Dude, I'm fucking over it. Like, I have no need whatsoever. Like, I don't want to. Like, I've already come over 11 months. It's like,
yeah,
I already figured out how to be in a environment where people are drinking and be happy and be the life of the party. And I kind of already fought off those demons one by one, to the point when, you know, they asked me, "Hey, let's get a drink." I'm like, dude, like, I'm 11 months in on this. I love my life. You know, it's like, I don't want to go back to that. I worked my ass off to get these 11 months under my belt, and I'm not going to digress.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you got to, that's the goal, you know, is like to create a life that drugs and alcohol can't make better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's hard to even see that when you're first getting sober. Oh, yeah. You know, because for me, it was like, I'd been using for so long, you know, that it was all I knew. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's all I did. Yep. Like, my whole life revolved around it. The people I hung out with, the things that we did, the getting and using, and how we're getting more and how we're getting money to do it. And all that was just what we're doing on the weekends. Every time I'm hanging out with somebody, we're smoking or drinking or using drugs. It was just like a whole lifestyle, you know? So first getting sober, dude, it's like, it feels like you're breaking up with a girl or something, right? You know? You're like, how am I going to do this? You know, like, how am I going to live without it? You know, my life is going to be boring. I'm never going to be able to have fun. Like, I can't hang out with these people anymore. I can't go to these places anymore. But at the end of the day, you know, when you are actively living in sobriety and like really changing your habits and living in a positive life, you know, and are connected with God and connected with people, and you change your habits to where you get into the flow of life, right? And you have this relationship with nature and like purpose, and you're on a different path, you know, and you start to develop a life where it's like, man, I don't want to lose this. First of all, you know what I mean? Like I'm on a different wavelength now. I don't want to mess this up.
Yeah.
And drugs and alcohol can't make this better. It's only going to make it worse.
Nope.
You know what I mean? And I've already played the tape through where like I've tried, bro. Like I've tried to reintroduce drugs and alcohol when things got good, and it never ended up good.
No. Nope.
It always ends up bad.
You're just relighting the candle.
Yeah, you relight it, and it always goes south, you know? And so today, bro, you couldn't pay me any sum of money to drink or use again.
Same.
There's no way, dude. Yeah. I don't want it. I don't need it, and I don't want it.
It's kind of repulsive.
Yeah.
At my stage, it's kind of just like...
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I know.
I'm good.
Yeah, I know. So... what's your life like today? You know, like how are you living in sobriety today, and what are the things you do on a daily basis that keep you sober now?
I mean, it's kind of cliche, but day by day.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously still struggle with, you know, depression, anxiety, you know, just real world right on the chin. You know, it's not an easy concept.
Life still shows up.
Yeah.
Whether you're using it or not.
Exactly. No, just staying active, having control over my mental health, doing things, you know, get my creative juices flowing, and going to the gym. You know, there's a variation of things that keep me, you know, level-headed and you know, on the exact same path, which is great. You know, like I moved back up here about 2 years ago from LA because LA was getting fucking lawless, dude. Like absolutely lawless, man. And also it was kind of that time where I was like, oh, you know what? I want to move back home and spend some more time with my nieces before they want absolutely fucking nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
You know, because I was gone for, you know, 90% of their life. I'd see them when I'd visit and stuff like that, but that was also another, you know, that was another variable into me becoming sober. I was like, you know, these girls look up to me. Like the last thing I want to do is, you know, let these girls down or have them understand, you know, that, oh, uncle didn't show up for my birthday, you know, shit like that, you know, and it's just the inconsistencies in life. And, yeah, I think it's just, waking up every day and being extremely blessed that I'm allowed to wake up and have another shot every single day. And so, I mean, there are days that I, you know, wake up at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning and just sit on my phone. And I always go back to one video and it gets me right out of bed and throws me in the shower, takes me to the gym, and you know, just staying active, man. Staying active around certain people. You know, I hate to say you got to cut certain people out of your life, but you do. Yeah. You know, but at the exact same time, you know, especially at our age, you know, it's like we had those day ones, right? But at the exact same time, I found out that those day twos, you know, those are the guys that I'm still full-fledged in contact with, man. Like I talk to Spencer probably 2-3 times a week. I start house sitting for him tomorrow.
Nice.
You know, and then I start to analyze my inner circle, and I'm going, okay, one of my best friends is a cameraman for the UFC. One of my other best friends is John Cena stuntman. One of my other best friends is a professional musician, and they all have these, you know, they all have these jobs and these careers that are just absolutely just like, you know, phenomenal. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, you know, it's like, that's my inner circle is people that are successful and that don't let, you know, the bullshit come in between, you know, their hopes, their aspirations, their dreams, and, you know, sideline these guys. And so I keep a tight circle for the most part, especially like I reconnected with Brad, which was absolutely amazing, man, because I hadn't seen him in probably 14, 15 years. And just reconnecting with him, I was like, dude, I'm like, so it's funny because I found his guitar from like 2010, right? he sold it to somebody for drugs back in probably 2011 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I'm in LA and I came across his exact color LTD and I'm going, bro, and I remember that it had a chip on the other side. So I turned it around and it's Brad's fucking guitar. So like when I moved back, that was the first thing I did. I like reached out to Brad, went golfing up at the Ridge, and I was like, hey man, like, what are you doing? How the hell you been, man? And he's like, dude, great, man. I think at the time he had like a year or two sober or something like that. And I go, well, hey, I'm gonna roll by real quick. And I walk in with his guitar, and his eyes light up, kind of like, dude, what? He's like, I sold, you know, in his mind, he's like, I sold that for drugs, you know, 15 years ago, dude.
Gone.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's tight.
Here's your guitar back, man.
Nice.
And it was, I don't know how he felt about it, but, you know, I felt good about it. You know, I felt good, and I felt that, you know, it's like, yeah, we all lost a lot of stuff during our addiction, you know, as far as like, I mean, shit, I sold my class ring for a fucking 80 of Oxy. So it's like, we discarded a lot of stuff throughout our addiction. So to be sober, you know, and reacquire something that you thought was just long gone. Yeah. It's like, I felt that, you know, he needed that guitar back. Yeah. And me and him, we talk maybe once or twice a month, you know, and nice. stay pretty close. I know he's super busy with the gym and stuff like that, but that's one guy that I did really reconnect. Like I tried reconnecting with multiple people when I moved back, and it's like they're all on the same shit. Didn't want anything to do with them. So I gave it a valiant attempt. You know, I was kind of like, "Hey, I'm back in town. You want to grab a cup of coffee?" Blah blah blah. And then, "Oh man, I'm not doing so good. You know, I don't think you want to be around me." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably right. You know, wish you the best. Let me know if you need anything." Yeah. And that's all that I really can do nowadays, you know. It's just kind of like, hey, I wish you the best. If you need anything, you need somebody to talk to, reach out to me. Yeah. No, it is. And you got to protect your own life and sobriety 100%. Too, you know. Yeah. You don't want to, you know. You can't save everybody, bro, especially people that don't want to be saved. You know what I mean? Yep. But you can be there, you know, and be available and be the light, you know, and show people that there's a way out, you know. Yeah. And that's all we're trying to do. I think that just being there physically and emotionally, it's like that's key right there. Yeah. Just, I mean, dude, whatever that person is going through, whatever is in their head, it's like, I remember times when I was going through a lot of shit, and all I needed was just a good brother. Yeah. To just kind of, you know, draw some perspective. Yeah. You know, hey man, listen to what you're talking about, dude. Like, you know, you got a great life, dude. Like, you know, you're a professional athlete for fucking 12 years, man. Like, you know how many times we go out in Hollywood and like fucking like chicks are looking at you, dudes are looking at you like, who the fuck's that? You know, like and it's like, I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel like anybody special or anything like that. But that's also perception versus reality, you know? So I'd hear this stuff from other people. It's like, oh, yeah, dude, like Tara Reid was checking you out at Laugh Factory. And it's like, awesome. She was also shit-faced drunk. But, I mean, you don't notice those things. You really don't notice those things that, you know, you know Rob Johnson? You probably know him. He's a stand-up comic. Oh, he came from Rockland. Yeah, yeah. He moved out to LA. I've heard that name. I got him into Laugh Factory. Know a lot of guys that run the comedy clubs down there, Hollywood Improv, Laugh Factory, Comedy Store, and he was a comedian up here. And I told him, I said, hey, come down to LA and, you know, I'll introduce you to some people and introduce him to Jeremy Piven and Jay Davis and Brandon Jackson and Chris D'Elia and TJ Miller and all these guys. And, you know, it's like his career took off. And it was just because we'd always been good friends, and he was kind of stuck up here, you know, doing comedy. And I was like, dude, like, come down to LA, I'll introduce you to anybody who is anybody that can, you know, give you your launching point, and you know they'll take care of you, you know. And so I find fulfillment in that too, like through my resources that I gained in LA, just to be able to kind of be like, hey, like if you're gonna be down there, reach out to so and so. You know, if you're gonna be down there, reach out to so and so, and they're all just overall good people, dude. So like I became really good friends with with Nipsey's old DJ Lico, and he started cutting my hair and stuff like that, and then I started doing concept writing for him with him and Jay Stone and Wale, a couple of Southern California, you know, rappers, and actually Jay Stone's kind of worldwide, isn't he?
I'd imagine. I mean, Wale is for sure.
Yeah. So I did some concept writing for Wale and Jay Stone, a couple videos. Yeah, it was fun. It's just about staying busy, and it's about just like, I started writing when I saw a sports psychiatrist back in 2014, because I was having some really weird dreams, like very lucid dreams, to the point where like I'd wake up and like I was anxiety driven, dude. Like I felt like I was gonna cry. Pretty sure you've had those dreams too.
Yeah.
Where it's just like it spooks the living shit out of you. You wake up and you're like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like,
yeah, usually super violent.
Yeah, exact same. Yeah. And so I saw a sports psychiatrist, and then he's like, hey, I want you to, you know, wake up and, you know, start journaling, you know, your dreams, and, you know, we'll meet twice a month, and kind of want to, you know, bring your notepad with you, and I want to see kind of, you know, what your subconscious is actually like projecting into your dreams, and see if we can make any sense of it. And so even after that, I kept writing, even if it was short stories, just, you know, haikus, poems, just whatever it was. I'm putting my mind on a piece of paper, and it turned into concept writing for music. It turned into writing music. It turned into this huge thing that, you know, I ended up doing 4 or 5 music videos, and, you know, between indie artists and rappers and, you know, alternative guys. And it's like what started as a therapy tool turned into something lucrative and put me into the music industry, which was just by happenstance, to be honest with you.
Yeah. You still write? Or no?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it was good putting your thoughts on paper, and then, you know, kind of identify a problem or something like that. You can go back to it months later and be like, I was tripping on that. You know, it's all small stuff, man.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What's the goal?
So I'm good friends with John Bernthal. I met him at a Raider game back in like 2016, 17 or something like that. And we became good friends. It was actually after, so it was 2015, because they just released Fury. And we started talking, and he's raving about Ojai up above Santa Barbara.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's literally like 15 minutes, you know, northeast of Santa Barbara, and it's a nice, quaint little South Park mountain town. But then you have a 15-minute ride to the beach, which is like the best of both worlds. Because I personally, I like kind of being sequestered and secluded. Number one, I don't like having to high five my neighbor when they're on the fucking toilet, you know. And he was just raving about it. He's like, man, the property, you know, is great. It's cheap. You know, you can build your own property up here, and you know, we got 78, 79 acres out here. My kids get on the ATVs, and they ride around, and dirt bikes, and, you know, if we want to go surfing, it's a 15-minute drive. And that was kind of like, okay, it's either Pismo, like maybe like a beach town like Encinitas, like Moonlight Beach, like San Diego area or something like that. I think PB, like Pacific Beach, is too like popping as far as like college and like drinking and shit like that. Encinitas is a very like low key, like surf town where everything shuts down at 8 o'clock. But I was thinking about Santa Cruz for a while just because I want best of both worlds. I want to be able to surf and I want to be, mountains and ocean right there.
Yeah.
So he's been talking to me for a while. He's like, dude, when you come to Ojai, and I would like to eventually buy property in Ojai, and what I do as far as a card analyst, it's like
do it wherever. Pretty much.
I can do it wherever, man. So I can. It's nice because I can take off. I can leave the country for a couple weeks. I can take off to Vegas. I can take off to Thailand for a month if I wanted to, and the wheels don't stop moving.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I've aligned myself to, started my own company, and, it started out as kind of like, my mental health. It's like, oh, it's good for my mental health. I get to sit down, I get to focus on something, and then became very monotonous to the point where started to get kind of burnt out. So I'd, start taking a couple days off here and there, just kind of getting sick of looking at stuff. And but I finally found a good balance to it, and it's been going really well.
Nice.
Kind of bit off more than I can chew, but this is what I wanted, so I gotta do it.
Yeah. How do you feel about the concept of balance? Because it's hard, especially if you want to be great at anything, kind of like we talked about earlier with your dad and like professionals in general, if you want to be the best at anything, balance it's almost out of the question, like you have to be imbalanced and almost obsessive.
Correct.
About whatever your profession is or whatever your obsession is,
Right.
If you want to be better than everybody else, you have to be willing to sacrifice other things in order to be that or to be good at that. And, some people can get away with it and, be successful, but like you are going to have to sacrifice other areas of your life, and for me,
yeah.
I mean, having a family, like I'm just not really willing to sacrifice being a father, and like, balance is very important to me, as a man and as a family man and as a business owner, like, and having an obsessive personality, dude, it's hard, because like I get obsessed with things, I get obsessed with these jobs, I get obsessed with exercise, like I become obsessive over things. And so I've had to learn how to find balance in my life, and like try to have balance. And I notice when I'm in balance, my life is better,
100%, yeah.
But how's your relationship with that? And how has your journey with balance been from being a professional and being in sobriety?
So, I still get the itch.
Yeah.
I still get the itch, man. I mean, I haven't fought professionally in 9 years. So, I mean, I get offers from last offer I got was Nate Snook. He's the matchmaker for Bare Knuckle FC.
Oh yeah.
And it was like August, and he's like, "You want to fight in November or something like that?" I go, "Bro, like, been retired for 8 years, man. Like, it's a romantic idea.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a romantic idea to have that last, one last dance under those lights." And I said, "Look, man," I was like, "you give me 6 to 8 months." I said, "We can talk, because I need 2 months to get my body in proper shape to get into a camp." Like, or I'm gonna die.
I gotta get ready to get ready.
I gotta get ready to get ready, basically. But no, I think the balance is, my family keeps me grounded, and that's one of the reasons that I moved back, is because, parents are getting a little bit older. Nieces are at that age, are 14, 17, and I think the balance is kind of like, being uncle, but at the exact same time, like, I can kind of flip that switch.
Yeah.
You know, and they've never seen it. They've never seen me have to like flip that switch. I think Jordan Peterson says something along the lines of like, you know, you don't have to be a violent man, but you have to be capable of violence.
Yeah.
Which is 100% true.
Yeah.
You know, you don't got to walk around peacocking and, you know, looking like a violent individual. But I mean, like, shit, I used to dress as a hipster.
Yeah.
You know, little snow beanie on, skinny jeans with the, you know, the suspenders hanging off with like a cut off. And, you know, I looked like a fucking hipster, dude. And it's like, I kick you in your face. You know, it's like, so the balance there is basically like, what I do is I will write myself notes the night prior to going, you know, night prior to kind of set my day. And I write myself these little notes on the inside of my door on sticky notes, and then I put, you know, my dailies, you know, on the mirror in my bathroom just as like a reminder of like, hey, like, you know, you gotta, these are the things you need to accomplish. And when I first started this company, I was just fully overwhelmed. And now I'm kind of going, okay, you know, if I can do this day and then tackle this the next day, tackle this the next day, all of a sudden I have 100 done and I don't feel so overwhelmed. So it's a mixture of compartmentalizing and understanding that you have to have a well-balanced life. You know, it's like, I know when I'm bogged down based upon some food that I ate. Like I'm not neurologically peaking. My creative juices are not flowing. There's a lot to it. And it's not like a lack of like dopamine. It's not a lack of anything like that. Like I just had a 30 panel test done probably 3 weeks ago. Got the results back. I'm fucking great, dude, which is awesome. I mean, for being 37 years old and having a 30 panel test come back and my doctor's like, you're fucking awesome. I was like, great, dude, because I didn't think so. You know, I thought otherwise. But the balance comes with family. It comes with my self-determination, self-motivation. I'm trying to retire my mom. You know, there's a lot of aspects to it that are every single day pushing me forward to become just a better individual and you know, a better role model for my nieces. And you know, I reconnected with my dad probably about like 12, 13 years ago.
Nice. Maybe
even longer than that, but me and him always had some weird kind of relationship, and finally kind of you know, I had to kind of break him down. Because, I mean, those old morals that these guys were born with in the 60s, and they got these morals and the social normalities from their parents who were born in, you know, the 30s and 40s. You know, those aren't relevant nowadays. They're not. They're not at all. So it's like, you know, when my brother died, my dad didn't cry. And that was one of the most, like, weird things that I've ever seen in my life. Just like, what, your son just fucking died? And like, nothing? Like, really? Like, you gotta have a heart in there somewhere, man. So, just like I said, kind of like circumnavigating, you know, people and understanding their niches and understanding how they operate. And, you know, there's dozens of things that fuel me every single day. Like even today, like I woke up, I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to Blaine's tonight. You know, I got to check 7 or 8 things off before I can go up there. And, you know, playing golf tomorrow.
Nice.
Good, nice day outside, nice little mental health day. And then, you know, go home, got to knock out some work. And then, you know, got to go house sit for the next week and a half. Finally get some peace.
There you go.
So,
nice.
Like I said, it's a culmination of a lot of things. It's family. It's my determination to stay on this path, and there's nothing that's ever gonna fucking hinder that or put me back where I was. I made that oath to myself a long time ago.
That's good. What do you think? What's the meaning of life? Like, what do you think the purpose is, of all of that? And, where are you drawing meaning from in the future and the direction that you're heading?
And the meaning of life, man. I think just to coexist. Treat other people, treat other people the exact same way that you'd want to be treated. Just the basic, and I mean, you've heard the acronym for Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth. It's like, there's a lot of things that I don't deliberately be like, oh yeah, well the Bible says this, but it's embedded in there, and just treating other people how you want to be treated. I call it I call it shopping cart karma. So hear me out on this. So, you see people with their shopping carts and they kind of, they go discard them in a corner of a parking lot. There's no ramifications to that. There's no reward for bringing your cart back and putting it in the carousel. But it's just who you are as a person.
Yeah. It says a lot about you.
It says a lot about you because there's no reward and there's no discipline. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like, I call it shopping cart karma. Because ultimately it comes down to you as a person and what you feel cognitively is right and wrong. And ultimately, we need to be looking out for our fellow man, our fellow woman. And it's like, if you're going to be a piece of shit and just kind of live your life aimlessly and destructively and just kind of like, yeah, the cart's fine right here. Somebody gets paid to do that. It's like, no, dude, don't be pissed when you walk out of the grocery store 2 weeks from now and you got a scratch on your car. Shopping cart karma. Yeah. Just do the right things, man. Hold doors for people. Just be polite. It's like, there's so many people in this world that are just so upset and bent and just, just disgusted with their own lives that one interaction could completely change someone's day.
It's true.
So that's what I think about that every single day. It's like, I never want to have a bad interaction with somebody. And it's always like, hey, yeah, you holding the door for somebody, or hey, would you guys like to go in front of me in line? I got quite a few things. You got 2 or 3 things. It's just little stuff like that, man. And it honestly adds up. And it's not fulfilling in the sense of like, oh, I did a good job. Pat on the back. It's just like, no, this is the way you're supposed to fucking live life. Yeah. We're all on the same planet. We're all brothers and sisters of, of this world of God. And it's like, if he was to see what was going on, which he does, it's like, pretty sure he'd be pretty fucking disgusted with most of the world. Yeah. So, I mean, just even if it is a couple of people, that, live by those laws of, treat people decently, treat people with respect, just do those little things. Those little things add up, man.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
It really does. It really does, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I just want to tell you that I'm very proud of you, bro. You've been an inspiration, and I'm grateful to know you, and I'm
same, brother.
I'm really excited to see where this life takes you, and I just want to give you your flowers and let you know I'm proud of you and I love you, and I'm grateful.
Love you too, brother.
Grateful to reconnect with you and look forward to more.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for coming out.
Man. Hell yeah, brother.
Victorious we became, but never forgot where we came from. Life or death, not a game. We came to change the lane. Recovery addicts, that's the name. Give yourself a break, just one day at a time. You were born to shine, so live and let love be forever. My sister, my brother, don't give in. Please remember, the lie is dead. We do recover. Welcome home.